Hello, it's movie time on Encore, top of the bill today. A vampire romance you can sink your teeth into. One of cinema's most defiant rebels, Jim Jarmusch, jumps on the bloodsucker bandwagon and is bound to leave you thirsty for more. Muscling in on the action genre, French director Fred Cavalier delivers another punch in Mea Culpa, his third race-against-the-clock suspenser. And a classic tale of unrequited love. We tell you why you should see the 1948 flick Letter from an Unknown Woman as it graces cinema screens once again. All that and more still to come, so let's get started. And I'm joined for our movie show, as always, by our film critic Lisa Nesselson. Hello to you, Lisa.
Hello there.
We're going to begin, though, with some big film news of the week. The resounding triumph for Asian cinema at the Berlinale. Chinese director Diao Yunan's noir thriller Black Coal, Thin Ice was the big winner, taking the top prize, a Golden Bear, and also scooping Best Actor Silver Bear for its leading man, Liao Fan. Director says he wasn't expecting such success.
Winning the Golden Bear hadn't crossed our minds. We read the critics' marking notes and saw that we weren't ranked highly. So we weren't expecting such a surprise. And when Liao Fan received the Best Actor award, we thought, that's good enough. We were already very happy.
Lisa, I think it's fairly safe to say that we're going to be seeing more from China and Asian cinema in general.
That is a safe bet, as in so many fields, the West dominated for a long time, and now it's only natural that we are seeing and being enriched by more and more work from Asia, which has definitely moved beyond martial arts pictures to personal dramas to social critiques. That said, this is a decision by a jury that changes every year, and as you can see, the director himself was a bit surprised to have won, but I'm very eager to see it.
Yeah, me too. All right, let's move on to one of this week's new releases. American director Jim Jarmusch's vampire romance, Only Lovers Left Alive, has something for viewers who love the genre as well as those who can't face another bite of it, doesn't it?
Yes, it's about a rather gorgeous, pale couple, Adam and Eve. They've been married for centuries. It doesn't just seem like that. They really have been married for centuries because they're vampires. He lives in decaying Detroit. She lives in exotic Tangier. And they both are artistically inclined. They found a way to give famous writers and musicians a bit of a nudge all through history. And they found a way to get around biting people in the jugular, which is put in peril when there's a little bit of a family crisis. Let's take a look.
1868, her third wedding. You look so young.
Give my regards to that suicidally romantic scoundrel.
You've been pretty lucky in love, if I may say so.
I have what you need.
Not what I need.
Well, Lisa, after the success of the Twilight series, it seems that audiences are thirsty, again, excuse the pun, for vampire stories. What makes vampire stories such good fodder, do you think?
We are really surrounded of late by a lot of vampires and a lot of zombies. Forget zombies, they're ugly, parts fall off and stuff. But vampires, they have a lot of time. They have a lot of time to contemplate. They have to be crafty and wily and sexy. And they tend to be really slim and strong without having to work out.
Yeah, and Jim Jarmusch is an American director. He actually had the idea for this movie quite a long time ago, but he struggled to get the financing, and it was actually Europe that came to the rescue, wasn't it? They've financed a few of his films before. What is their fascination with him?
He had this idea way ahead of the curve 8 or 9 years ago, but it took him 7 years to get the funding, and it was Europe that came to the rescue. I think they've just always liked his sensibilities, and something I appreciate about France in particular is that if you ever made a movie that people liked, you're sort of on the map forever, whereas in the English-speaking world, you're only as good as your last picture. So people just sort of like his sensibilities, and what's not to like?
Absolutely. And one thing that I noticed watching this film is that it has a really beautiful aesthetic, and it seems there's quite a lot of similarities drawn between the characters, the vampire characters, and the artistic community. Perhaps that's why I'm not really a vampire film fan, but perhaps that's why I could relate to it a little bit more.
Yes, well, they're fun to watch. And Adam creates his own music, but it's very underground music. He absolutely doesn't want everyone to know about it. It's that slyly giving a nudge to things that I think we can identify with. How fun would it be to just lean back and contemplate the way of the world? But of course, they can't let it get to them emotionally or they'd go crazy because bad things are always happening.
All right, well, also out now in French cinemas and soon to be released worldwide is Mea Culpa by French director Fred Cavaillé. International audiences might not be that familiar with the director himself, but they've probably seen his style of work before, haven't they?
Yes, he's a huge French success story. In this movie, it's an ex-cop who loses his badge after a drunk driving accident. He's currently sharing custody of his young son, who unfortunately witnesses a murder. And so the bad guys are out to get him, and the only thing Dad can do is borrow some weapons and try to wipe out the baddies. Let's take a look.
It certainly looks like it's come straight out of Hollywood. It's like very much an action-packed movie there. What is it about the Frenchman's movies? They've been actually, one of his films has been made by Hollywood, hasn't it? What is it about his movies that's grabbed Tinseltown's attention?
He's made 3 films in a row that are very French, and yet they're familiar. They're characters in peril who we can identify with, played by very good actors. So the first movie, Pour Elle, was remade as The Next 3 Days, starring Russell Crowe. And then he made another film called À bout portant, Point Blank, which was so successful that he sold the remake rights twice to the United States and also to South Korea. And then this one, of course, again has characters in peril who appeal to international audiences.
Okay, and the actor Vincent Lindon also starred in Poel and a few of his other films. What is it? Is he perhaps the secret to the director's success?
I think the secret to his success is knowing how to cast his movies and knowing what to do with the actors and, as I said, putting them in peril. But Vincent Lindon has spent his career perfecting this sort of dour weight of the world expression that's very effective. I think even if there were such a thing as a joie de vivre transplant, his body would reject it. And so we feel bad for him because his life has been ruined by this car accident. This is a chance to redeem himself by looking out for his son. And he's got this partner who still has a badge, who shouldn't really be helping him take the law into his own hands, but because of their friendship, they end up on a speeding TGV train trying to, right the situation. Also, I see a lot of movies, and I have to say there was a development in this one that I absolutely did not see coming. And the men did a lot of their own stunts, and here is Vincent Lindon talking about what it's like to play around in an action movie.
For an actor, it's just great. It's really nice. I felt young again. I was just messing about, really, playing like a child. I had fun with guns, doing the fights, and jumping through windows.
All right, Lisa. Well, even though it had a child at its centre, Mea Culpa may not be suitable viewing for the kiddies, but there's certainly a lot for them to see at a festival currently here in Paris at the Forum des Images called the Tout Petit Cinéma. Seems like it's perhaps a good way of getting children hooked on popcorn and cinema going in general at quite a young age.
I think the French are quite brilliant about this because they're building movie theaters, they're training people in film schools, and they're also thinking about where is the audience of tomorrow going to come from, and are they going to be well behaved? So this festival is for children as young as 18 months up to 4 years. They actually have a stroller parking lot at the Forum des Images, and it sensitizes kids to being quiet, looking at the big screen, going out with their family, building pleasant memories, and it'll get generations of people, I think, to leave the house and go to a movie.
Okay, well, I'm sure the French tradition of going to the movies is going to stay strong with initiatives like that. All right, finally, Lisa, an old classic is making its way back onto French screens. Letter from an Unknown Woman by Max Offals is being re-released. It's based on a novella by Stefan Zweig and is the ultimate tale of unrequited love. Why should people go see this again? I mean, it was released such a long time ago.
There are very few sure things in life, but I think it's a pretty safe bet to always seek out a movie directed by Max Ophuls or indeed by his son, the documentary maker, Marcel Ophuls. It is a haunting tale starring Joan Fontaine, who died recently in December. It's a superb recreation of on a Hollywood soundstage of a bittersweet historical Vienna. As you said, it's unrequited love, and it shows us the incredible role that letters, pen and ink on paper, played in our lives until quite recently.
It's such a tragic tale, though. Do you think it says something about perhaps the human condition that this type of movie was so popular?
Absolutely. I mean, people went to the movies to go somewhere else. And I think there's an incorrect piece of received wisdom that people like happy endings, babies, and walking off into the sunset, when in fact, if you think about it, it's a lot of the movies where the lovers can't be together or somebody dies that stick with us the longest. I'm thinking of, West Side Story or Dr. Zhivago. And this is similar. A woman falls in love with a man who doesn't know she exists, and yet knowing this man exists has conditioned her entire life and everything she ever does.
All right, well, definitely one to go check out. That's all the time we have for today, unfortunately, but thanks so much to you, Lisa, for being with us as always, and thanks to you for watching. Don't forget you can find out about all the latest cultural happenings on our social networks. We're going to leave you now with a clip from Letter from an Unknown Woman. Enjoy, and see you for more movie news soon.
I have so much to tell you. And perhaps very little time. Will I ever send it? I don't know. I must find the strength to write now before it's too late. And as I write, it may become clear that what happened to us had its own reason beyond our poor understanding. If this reaches you, you will know how I became yours when you didn't know who I was.
I've seen you somewhere. I know. I followed you upstairs and watched you in your box. Is there any place we could have met that I might have seen you?